You are listening to Radio Maria Canada. We now present the Health Hub, hosted by Kathy Biasi.
Welcome to the Health Hub on Radio Maria Canada, exploring cutting-edge health and wellness information and therapies, helping you to take your health to the next level. I'm your host, Kathy Biasi, and I am an holistic nutritionist and a professional cancer coach. On our show today, you are going to be introduced to PSYCH-K, the powerful program that allows you to quickly and painlessly change subconscious beliefs that may be limiting the full expression of your potential in life as a spiritual being having a human experience. And my guest is Duccio Locati, a certified PSYCH-K instructor and trained osteopath, merging his passion for holistic health with his deep-rooted interest in spirituality, offering invaluable insights into the intricate connection between mind, body, and spirit. Duccio's expertise lies in understanding the profound impact of subconscious beliefs on our health and well-being. As an advocate of applied spirituality, he guides individuals to bridge the gap between spiritual wisdom and everyday life, fostering an harmonious alignment of mind, body, and spirit. This is a great show when we really get to the heart and soul of integrated health. PSYCH-K can be a standalone for no uncertain terms, but it is also very powerful when it is used in tandem with health protocols. We talk about what connects our emotions to changes in our physical health, what the role of spirituality in health is. And then we get to this point of how the PSYCH-K program can be integrated into our health plans and our objectives. Wonderful show ahead. Please do stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few minutes to talk with Duccio.
You are listening to Radio Maria Canada. We now continue with the program, The Health Hub, hosted by Kathy Biasi.
Welcome back to the Health Hub, everybody. Today's show has been pre-recorded, no opportunity for calling in. Please do follow us on our social sites. We are on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, and we are at the Health Hub RMC on those locations. Duccio, welcome to our show.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you for inviting me, and thank you for what you do to serve all the ones who are curious about knowing more about health.
And it's absolutely my pleasure to be in this seat because I learned so much myself. So it's kind of a selfish thing for me. So it's I meet such wonderful people.
It's a beautiful selfishness.
Yeah, we are definitely going to be talking about your PSYCH-K program. We will get into that within the show for sure. But if you could just, we're trying to talk here about, bridging the gap between our emotions, our physical health, our spirituality. I think we all know how we think, how we talk to ourselves impacts our physical health. It goes right to our gut. It can impact our whole physicality. So before we get into all of that, though, can you share a bit of how you got to where you are, how you discovered the power of holistic health, and what brought you to the PSYCH-K program?
Oh, sure, Kathy. Thank you. So long story short, I'm originally an osteopath. So I've always been interested and very curious about approaching health from a holistic point of view. So taking care of the symptom, taking care of the body, taking care of the emotions, taking care also sometimes of the messages that a condition that we call illness sometimes brings with itself. So after my degree in osteopathy, I continued to wanting to learn more and more to support and help my patients in the most holistic way possible. And in 2007, I attended 2-year training in biological medicine. That's very, very interesting from the knowledge point of view, because it explains very well what happens in our life, often experienced in a loneliness, traumatic way, unexpected, triggers a very specific area of our brain that by itself triggers a tissue or an organ. So how we react to what happens in our life determines in a big, important way our health. And there are so many different examples about that. So after this 2-year training, I knew everything about all these connections, okay? For example, conflict of separation, or being always in a hurry, or having fear of the unknown. These are 3 of many of the different conflict that we might experience as human beings that affect different tissues. For example, the conflict of separation, according to this philosophy, affects our epiderm. That's the skin, the external skin. The conflict, for example, of being always in a hurry and, oh my God, I don't have time, always in a rush, can affect our thyroid, for example. So it was very interesting. And after 2 years, I knew all these connections. And when people ask me, okay, Duccio, I have this, what could it be? And I was very precise in helping them to find out what the conflict was. But then when we came to the point, okay, what can I do here? I said, I don't know. I know everything about the theory, everything about the physiology, the anatomy, the histology, and the biochemistry involved in all these processes, but I didn't know how to help people. And at the end of this 2-year training, a medical doctor who was there with me gifted me the Dr. Bruce Lipton's book, The Biology of Belief, that if you have not yet read it, I strongly suggest you to read it. It's so beautiful. And I read the word PSYCH-K in this book because Dr. Bruce Lipton, he's a cellular biologist. He's a great fan of PSYCH-K, and he uses PSYCH-K to really change his subconscious limiting beliefs. And also he was able to demonstrate that when we effectively work with our subconscious mind, we can also affect our epigenetic expression. That's the expression of our genes. So when I read the word PSYCH-K, I said to myself, oh my God, I have the tool. This is what I really need. So I attended the workshops that were available at the time. I attended the basic workshop, the advanced workshop. I immediately applied it with myself because I was the first one who desperately needed to change a lot of subconscious limiting programs about everything in my life, relationships, my relationship with my family, a relationship with my job, health, everything. There was not a single piece of my life that I didn't need to check and change. And for me, PSYCH-K was the perfect tool for doing that. And after a couple of years, I started to introduce PSYCH-K in my osteopathic practice and to combine both of them. I saw amazing results. And in end of 2013, I decided to stop my osteopathic practice and to dedicate my life to PSYCH-K. That it's also important to understand that PSYCH-K is not a substitute of medical treatments or psychological treatments. Is strictly limited to the change of subconscious limiting beliefs. But as Dr. Bruce Lipton explains very well in the book Biology of Belief, when we change a subconscious limiting belief, this immediately affect our physiology and biology, because the subconscious mind, besides managing our subconscious beliefs that can be enhancing or limiting, also manages our autonomous nervous system. So every time we change something at the subconscious level, there is a direct or indirect connection with our physiology and biology. And that's very condensed is my story. And that's why now PSYCH-K is my passion. And I use it with myself. I teach it in the workshops. I do some sessions. And I also collaborate with a lot of different therapists, from medical doctor, physiotherapists, psychotherapists, because it's such a beautiful complement to all the already existing therapies. And I believe it's such an important complement to help the person to understand also the why of a certain condition that we call illness. And sometimes we over-focus on the symptom without taking care of the big picture. In PSYCH-K, we really love to take care of the big picture, of the why, of sometimes why a person needs a certain condition that we call illness. And there are sometimes messages, there are sometimes what's called secondary gains. That's a need for the condition that seems crazy, but when we discover them, they are very evident. And so that's my story.
It's a lovely story. Now, we should just then jump in right into what exactly PSYCH-K is. It's been mentioned many times, but maybe you can give us the paradigm and how how it is, what it is, and what it's. We know what it's used for, but what are the steps that are taken in order to practice this?
So thank you, Kathy. So PSYCH-K, the PSYCH-K's originator is Rob Williams, and he developed in some way, he received PSYCH-K in 1988. So it's here since quite a long time. And it's a beautiful way to integrate all the levels of our mind, our conscious mind that decides the goal and also judges, the subconscious mind, who is the storage of our emotions, beliefs, long-term memories, and also manages our, like I said, our physiology. And what in PSYCH-K we define super conscious mind. That's a term that was created by Roberto Assagioli, who is the father of the psychosynthesis, who is our greater wisdom, soul, connection to oneness, whatever we want to define it. So in PSYCH-K, we really collaborate with all this level of our mind that finally is one, but it's important to be able to work also consciously with PSYCH-K to divide ourselves in these three selves. So the conscious self, the subconscious self, and the superconscious selves. And through PSYCH-K, we are able to, first of all, determine what we want. Okay, so I want to be healthy. I want to be happy. I want a peaceful relationship. I want to solve this allergy. I want to be successful, etc. And this is the conscious mind. It's like kind of the captain of a boat. Then the captain needs to be able to communicate with the boat, and the boat is the subconscious mind. And through muscle testing, because kinesiology is one part of PSYCH-K, we're able to dialogue with the subconscious mind, and first of all, to check if we believe subconsciously or not in our goal. For example, I love myself, I am successful, I am healthy, I have a peaceful relationship with my wife, with my mother, with my father, etc. If we do not subconsciously believe in what we would like to achieve, then we enter in the PSYCH-K process that's called balance. The balance is the way to integrate in few minutes. That's the beauty of PSYCH-K. I love PSYCH-K because it's fast and it's simple. And in just about 5 minutes, we can through this process that's called balance, integrate in our subconscious mind the program that we are looking for. Again, I am happy, I'm successful, I forgive X for having done Y. So the possible desires are kind of infinite. And everything is done under the surveillance, but it's a beautiful divine surveillance of the superconscious mind. Another beautiful thing that helped me to fall in love with PSYCH-K is that it is safe. Because
is it a talk therapy? Duccio, is it a talk therapy?
No, it's not. So there is a part of thought, but it's just to identify the limiting beliefs and the goals. Okay. But then it's very practical because it's during the PSYCH-K session that might last, for example, it depends, 60 to 90 minutes. The person who experiences PSYCH-K does the changes. So once the limiting belief has been identified, we enter in the PSYCH-K process that's called balance. And that's let's say, the technique, the methodology that allows the person to change the subconscious limiting belief. After that, we check with the person, okay, how are you with the subject? Okay, for example, health or job or relationship. And then we move to the next limiting belief or the next goal, and we do another balance. So it's not a talk therapy in which we talk for 1 hour, okay, and we discover so many things. But discovering is not enough, Kathy, because we might know so many things about ourselves. And knowing the problem is not enough. Knowing the solution is not enough. Integrating the solution in our system is vital, but is not yet enough. And with PSYCH-K, we integrate the solution, but it's not enough because at the end of the session, there is what's called the action step. How can you put into action in your three-dimensional life these new programs that you have installed during the session? Okay? For example, if someone comes for a relationship problem or for a health problem, like an allergy that in PSYCH-K we define reactive response to something, to a pollen, to food, to animals, perfect. From the classical point of view, you take an antihistaminic and you kind of survive to the reactive response or allergy. In PSYCH-K, we have seen that often there is a stressful subconscious association that is created in a certain moment of the person's life with the element that can be the pollen, the food, the animal. Okay, something stressful happens. Okay, for example, Katie, you're walking outside during spring and you have never been allergic to anything. Okay,
yep.
Suddenly outside there are a few pollens, but you have no reaction to these pollens. Suddenly you receive a phone call that's a traumatic phone call. Okay, for example, someone you love has a car accident or your house is on fire, something like that, okay? For any reason, because the subconscious mind does not think linearly, the subconscious might associate this stressful news to one or more of the pollens that you're breathing into your system. So starting that moment, you start to have the reactive response to that pollen, but you don't know why, because you never connect the two things. But there is a way, for example, to understand, okay, when did it happen? And there is a specific protocol, for example, for these reactive responses. And it's very easy to understand if there is a specific connection. That I'm not saying that it's always like that, but in my experience, it's pretty often. And once we understand what happens, we use PSYCH-K to change the stressful perception of the event, okay? And changing the stressful perception of the event that happened stops the stressful connection and so freeze the relationship with the element that could be the pollen. Okay, this is just one easy example on how to work with the subconscious mind and how this connection is made.
Now,
And
sorry,
yeah,
just
sure.
within that, now, if you're a practitioner, not a practitioner, but if you're practicing this,
Yes.
is it a continual revisiting, reshaping, going back to the steps as you meld into different aspects of your life?
So beautiful. Thank you, Kathy. This is a beautiful question, and it really depends. There are things that once you have transformed something, it's done. Okay. There are other things that are in a kind of constant evolution, like a spiral going upwards. For example, if you use PSYCH-K to transform the stressful perception of a traumatic event that you have experienced in your life, usually once that's done, it's done. Okay, you never go back there. Okay, because it's a long-lasting change. But for example, I can tell you that in about myself, I use PSYCH-K in a kind of evolutionary way for a few subjects. For example, I always have been very stressed about the death of my parents and specifically the death of my dad. Okay, since I was a kid, even if my dad was healthy, okay, I always had this obsession as a kid. And then I discovered also why. And when I learned PSYCH-K in 2007, my relationship with death, and specifically with the death of my father, but death in general, that it's a big topic, at least for me, okay, but I know for many people.
For many people, yes.
Exactly. It has been such a huge ongoing evolution, because through PSYCH-K, I've been able to, first of all, change my perception of death, to understand what was behind my obsession of death, to actually to talk to the entity of death. Okay, why are you here? What's your energy? What's your purpose? What can I do to perceive you in the most peaceful and non-attached way? And especially death of people I love, okay? Because for many people, including me, sometimes it's more painful to think about the death of the ones we love compared to our death. But then it's a story that we tell ourselves, because it's about suffering, right? We don't like to suffer. So we hate other people dying because we lose someone we love, and we suffer, and we do not want to suffer, okay? So for example, death has been a kind of step by step, okay? And in different moments of my lives, I was able to use PSYCH-K to go to the next level. Relationship, another one that has been a kind of ongoing, but from different levels. So like next level, next level, next level, next level. Also because for some situations, it's our system requires us to go, okay, go from level 1 to level 2, because level 3, it's impossible for you to manage, okay? It's too much. So using PSYCH-K, we have this permission protocol that's managed by the super conscious mind that tells us, go up to here because you can manage this change, okay? And stay a little while with this change before going to the next one, okay? So another one was, and this is, Katie, very common with Italian people, and I'm half Italian and half Switzerland, half Swiss, is the relationship with my mother, for example, okay? Every male, kind of, if you check with kind of every male in Italy and in the Mediterranean culture, there is this huge, amazing opportunity to grow in the relationship with the mother. Okay.
Mhm.
And I learned so many things. I moved from being the victim. Okay. Oh my God, my mother was in this way and I have this problem because of her. To, for example, thanks to PSYCH-K, oh wow, I was able to see my mother from a different point of view, from a more detached point of view, and I was able to understand her behavior and why she behaved with me in a certain way and also with other people because of her history, because my mother lost her father when she was very young, so she had a huge void. And when I realized the consequence of this loss for her and how difficult was for her to express love to others, right?
Mhm.
Because she never experienced the love of her father because she was very young. Immediately I changed perception because I realized that it was not something related to me to stress me or to in some way damage me on purpose, but it was her way to survive it. And she only knew that. She
Mhm.
couldn't do anything different. Okay.
That's
And this
fair.
was
We need some grace for our mothers every once in a while, don't we?
exactly, exactly.
And it's sometimes the expectation versus the reality is quite a different thing. And I think the way you're approaching things and the way your program works to help people identify these things is wonderful. We're going to take a quick break,
Exactly.
everybody, and we'll be back in just a few minutes.
You are listening to The Health Hub here on Radio Maria Canada, a Catholic voice wherever you are. To contact us and be a part of the show, email thh@radiomaria.ca. We now continue with the program. Here once again is your host, Kathy Biasi.
Okay.
Welcome back to the Health Hub. My guest today is Duccio Locati, and we are talking about PSYCH-K, his program of, and you can change my wording of this, integrating our emotions, our physical health, and spiritual health. We haven't
Yeah.
touched on that. So, how does our spirituality interplay with our physical body and our emotional body?
Thank you, Kathy. The answer and I'm answering from my experience, okay, and not from something that I read, because I love when I do something, I love to really dive deep in that. And Psyche, according to Rob Williams, who is the originator of Psyche, and not only to him, we are all spiritual beings having a human experience, okay? And already being aware of who we really are helps us a lot. Because especially with health, if we perceive ourselves like just pure body, like a machine that needs to be fixed, and and we limit our approach to our health only to a more mechanism, like mechanism. Okay, I change this part, I fix this part, and everything is okay. We are only dealing with a very, very small part of us, because like we said before, there is the emotional part and the emotion and the beliefs. And there is an even greater part, that's the spiritual part. The spiritual part in health is huge. It's huge because, for example, the first thing is the perception of ourselves. If I perceive myself just as a human being and a body surviving to life, my way to perceive myself is very limited. So if I have something regarding my health, it would be very difficult to approach the condition in a holistic way. But if I perceive myself as a spiritual being having a human experience, I can learn to literally interact and talk with my spirit, with my superconscious, with my inner wisdom, with my intuition, Kathy. We can call it in the way we want. And it's easier than we think. This deep connection with our inner wisdom, with intuition, can give us amazing information.
Can you give me an example of how easy it is to connect with that spiritual piece? Because not only, like, I'm a spiritual person, and still, when I have health issues or whatever, it can be tough for me to connect. But then there are people that don't believe that they have spirituality at all. So can you help us along in that path and how we connect?
So there are two ways. One that we learned during the PSYCH-K workshops, that there is really a protocol that helps us to get messages from the superconscious mind. What does it mean? That when we have a health condition that in normal language we call illness, we can perceive this condition as a messenger that is desperately trying to tell us something, like wake up, or talk to this person, or stop, rest, you need to rest. For example, these are just three messages. Or forgive this person for doing that, otherwise your liver and your stomach will always be hyperactive and you will always suffer from these different condition in your liver and in your stomach. So there is this way to interact directly with the superconscious, and in few moments you're able to understand what's the message. Another way is through intuition. Intuition is easier than we think, because when we, for example, we direct our attention to the condition itself, or to the organ, or to whatever or whoever we believe that can help us, and we ask one specific question, like, what do I need to do to solve this condition? Or what's the message for me regarding this condition? And we receive an answer in the first few seconds, usually 7 to 10 seconds. And the answer is short, Kathy, because when, for example, we pray, or we ask, because we can literally talk to an organ, okay, but the organ will be the representative of our soul, our inner wisdom. So, for example, Kathy, if you have a condition in your heart, okay, hypertension, you can actually talk to your heart and ask the heart, okay, heart, what's in it for me? What are you trying to tell me? Why do I need this program that I call hypertension? Okay? And maybe the answer is because you are hyperactive, because you need so much energy, you do so many things, you never stop, you never rest. So you ask your heart again, okay, what do I need to do? And your heart tells you, you need to rest, you need to stop, you need to learn to delegate and to stop trying to do everything by yourself. Otherwise, if you want to keep doing everything by yourself, you need biologically, mentally, and spiritually this hypertension to stay to have enough energy to do everything just by yourself. Okay. So, and this is just one example of one message. And the beauty of talking with intuition, that we can talk to the condition, we can talk to a specific organ, we can talk also to someone or something we really believe can help us. That can be an archetype, for example, the archetype of love, the archetype of health. There are so many different ways on how to interact with different archetypes, with different thought forms. And to just ask one question, a very simple question. So what's in it for me? What do I need to learn? What do I need to do to not need you anymore if we talk to a specific condition that's affecting us? And when we receive a specific information in the first 7-10 seconds, the information is very simple, and there is no doubt about the answer, you are 100% sure that this is intuition. If you try to do the same thing, but you receive a very long and complex answer, it takes a long time to receive this answer, and there is some doubt in this information that you receive, very likely that's your personality and it's not your intuition. This is just some little suggestions on how to do that. But I invite you or the ones who listen to maybe be in a peaceful place with no interruption, with no stress around. And if they're affected, if one organ or one part of the body is affected by a condition, just ask one question. Ask, okay, what's in it for me? What are you trying to tell me? What do I need to do so to be healthy? Okay, for example. And then listen to the first answer. That's so important. Mm-hmm. And then that's the beautiful way to work with the spirit. And in PSYCH-K, this is vital because PSYCH-K was initially defined as self-help methodology, but in the last at least 10 years, it moved more and more to the self-realization methodology. Okay, it's about moving from serving ourselves. That's vital because, Kathy, if we do not serve and take care of ourselves, we go nowhere. To more and more also serving others, realizing that there is no other outside. Okay, mm-hmm. Why? Because another key point of PSYCH-K, always for the deep spiritual aspect of this methodology, is the illusion of separation. That nearly every single problem that we have in our life, including health, is due to the illusion of separation, that we are separated, that our body is separated from our mind and our emotion, and we are separated from the spirit, and we are separated from other people, and we are separated from nature. And so we are in a constant conflict of separation and everything that comes along with this separation. Because the abuse of other people, okay, the conflict, being angry with other people, if we realize that other people are just another expression of ourselves, our approach to what happens in life completely changes. And this
can the PSYCH-K be used in all these principles that you're applying, which I personally think are wonderful, and I'm going over my mind some of the practices right now. But this isn't in place of medical care. This is can be in tandem with medical care.
Oh, thank you. It's in PSYCH-K, what we pay a lot of attention to, especially because people can learn PSYCH-K in PSYCH-K workshops that are in person or online, or can do PSYCH-K sessions if they don't want to learn PSYCH-K by themselves. But one thing that we are super clear about is that PSYCH-K is strictly limited to the change of subconscious limiting beliefs. And it's not a substitute, but it's a beautiful it's a beautiful complement, okay? Because when something that I explain in PSYCH-K workshops that's called the Health and Wellbeing Program is that with PSYCH-K, if someone comes, for example, for a heart condition, okay, hypertension, classical medicine, that thanks God there is classical medicine, can approach the hypertension from a more objective point of view. Okay, you can take the pill to take the pressure down and to have a normal blood pressure. Perfect. With PSYCH-K, what do? We check everything that in the person's life finally require the person to have hypertension. So, for example, limiting beliefs in the family of other people having had hypertension, traumatic events, messages from the superconscious mind. So maybe the hypertension is a way from that the spirit is using to desperately trying to communicate something to the person, but the person is not paying attention to these messages. So once we know the message and we download the message in the subconscious mind, the messenger, that's the hypertension, might go away. Another thing that we always check are secondary gains. The secondary gain is a subconscious advantage in maintaining the condition, and they are very common in chronic conditions in which people do their best, try tons of different approaches, tons of different things from the objective reality, subjective reality, so many different approaches. They are better, they feel better for a little bit while and then back again and then back again. Very likely in this case, there is a secondary gain. That means a subconscious, not conscious, because consciously people want to solve their problem, but a subconscious advantage in maintaining the problem because they believe subconsciously that if they solve the problem, they will lose something that's even more important than the solution of the problem itself. For example,
interesting.
Very interesting. That's crazy, Kathy. In the very common secondary gains in people with chronic condition. Okay, one question that I ask is, what will you lose once you are healthy? It seems crazy, Kathy, but the things that come up are insane. Okay, what will you lose once you are healthy? And people said, oh my God, being taken care of, love, people around me, being able to rest, taking my time, power, and so many different things. And the secondary gains are everywhere. But as my field is especially health, I see them especially in the health environment. But you see, from it's not an interference or a substitute of medical right. health, but it's a beautiful complement, because the official medical takes care of the symptom, specific of the biology. Thanks God there is the ER, emergency medicine, when surgery is needed. Thanks God there is surgery, and it's not enough. It's not enough. I've seen, okay, if we really want to help the person in a kind of circular way, just taking care of the symptom is not enough.
I love the way that this is integrated, and that's what the show is, right? It's integrative health. And it's not to the exclusion of any other area. I personally love, I've done some research on the program. I love what the objective is. I love Bruce Lipton. And so it all makes sense for me. As we approach the end of the show, I wanted to know if you would be able to tell us if you work with people directly, if this is an online program, how does someone get involved with PSYCH-K?
Yeah. So if you're interested in PSYCH-K, the best place to go is PSYCH-K.com. It's the website where you can find information about all the workshops available that are both in person and online. And also there is a list of what's called preferred facilitators, because the ones who attend a PSYCH-K workshop become PSYCH-K facilitator. So if someone is interested in just experiencing a session, they can contact a preferred facilitator on the PSYCH-K.com website, and they will experience the session. If someone is more curious about, oh, no, I want this methodology, I want to learn this methodology for myself, like I did back in 2007, because it was absolutely imperative for me to have something to work with myself. And Kathy, I'm doing it every single day. The beauty is that once I learned PSYCH-K, for the first few years, I really transformed the biggest thing in my life. In the last few years, I'm focusing my energy less and less in solving my problems and more in building the reality that I want for myself and for the community. Absolutely. So it's also beautiful when we are able to serve for sure ourselves, but also others on a very large scale, and PSYCH-K allows us to do that.
Well, I really want to thank you for taking the time and joining us today. It's a beautiful program. I love the passion that you have towards it. And I do think it can be an extremely vital piece when someone is working through health issues. And just to want to be, moving forward in an emotional space, doesn't have to be the physical space, but just in general to help make your life better. I think this is a beautiful program. So thank you so much for joining us, Duccio. I really, really do appreciate your time.
Thank you, Kathy, and thanks, everybody.
Everybody, we'll talk to you next week on The Health Hub.
You have been listening to The Health Hub, hosted by Kathy Biasi, here on Radio Maria Canada.